Okay, welcome to another episode at Mapperton. I'm on our very, very rubbish tennis court. And we've got Andy over there, he's strimming around the tennis court. And we do actually use this tennis court quite often, but there's plants coming up from underneath. We did just line this ourselves the other day, and we do use this, but again, it's because the house and the gardens require and are a real priority, require so much repair and restoration that the tennis court may or may never be ever repaired again. So it's quite an unfair tennis game because it's so wonky. It's like gravel here. There's plants coming up, but we still play it. So this is, don't worry, none of the patronage will go towards the repairing of the tennis court. We just have learned to live with it because everything else has to go to the restoring of the house and the gardens. But we do feel fortunate we do have it. So let's see. Oh! Okay, that was rubbish. See what I mean? Now, I did play tennis when I was younger. Let's just try it again. Oh, okay. I've got to get one over, like, properly. Maybe I can try and get it close to Andy. Okay. That's so big. Did you see that bounce? That's what I'm saying. It's like an unfair game. The court has the advantage. All right. Oh my gosh. I was going to say 3 times a charm, but oh, there we go. Yeah. Anyway, this is our tennis court, and it's got a nice little pavilion here. We do use it. And again, we've learned to live with those, the advantage that the court has to us with all those baubles. So we're gonna head down here. And again, this is just the private part of the estate. We're gonna go so that you'll see when I close this door here, it'll say private. And you can see the wall. So this wall right here, remember the garden used to, which I'm gonna show you in a second, used to actually be here, right by the house, right by the Georgian part. Whoop! It's getting windy. Until in the 1920s when the Italianate gardens were built. So, okay, there we go. Ta-da! Here we go. Fantastic. So that was myself having my hand by myself at tennis. But we're in, again, glorious summer here, a little bit breezy today. Down to the gardens, there's our yellowish orange arrows. So that is so that people know that there's a one-way system. This is the Croquet Pavilion. So the lawn then morphed into really the croquet lawn. But again, this used to be the garden right here. And you can see when it gets we discovered like 2 years ago when it got so dry, we took a drone up and we could actually see the parterre around and showing you where the old garden used to be. So this is, again, the croquet lawn and the croquet pavilion. So we do play a lot of croquet here. As a member of the public or a visitor, you can absolutely come into this area here. Lots of people get married here. So it's quite complicated over in England. Like you have to have certain places. What is it, Stephen? Like
they have to be registered.
They have to be registered, and for some reason, the people get married in the church, but it doesn't seat that many people. It only seats like 78. So this way, they can actually get married there. It's been registered with the church. They can get married there, and they can have all of their guests out here as well. So they can have a lot more than just 78 people. So we play a lot of croquet here. I'm not very good at croquet, just like I'm not very good at tennis. I used to be quite good at tennis. Clearly not. Or maybe it's just that I'm just going to blame the court. I'm not very good at croquet either. But if you watch the Doddington episode, I did do one good shot on the Doddington episode, those of you who were watching An American Aristocrat's Guide to Great Estates. But we ended up losing, as you saw. We did really end up losing. So we're coming up to the side of the house. And what's interesting about the side of the house is that it's actually, look at the windows. They're so different from the rest of the house. The rest of the house has lead windows. This is a facade. So this was put up in the 18th century. So during the Georgian period, this is considered the Georgian part of the house, because it was quite fashionable to have these types of windows and to really, so this, if you compare this side of the house to any other part of the house, it looks very, very different, because this was the fashionable thing to have during that Georgian period was this type of facade here. So this was put up in sense in front of the Tudor house. And I am gonna quickly show you the Tudor door where the original door was. So this used to be not the main entrance before the facade. Believe it or not, the main entrance was right about here, I suspect. Yeah, so the main entrance was actually here. You're gonna see the original Tudor door through there when we get to the other side. And then this facade was put up to make it look Georgian, because that was fashionable. And when you did that, it represented sort of power and status. So that was put up because at that time, to have this facade represented power and status. So again, we're gonna come into what we call the Croquet lawn door. And this leads directly into the staircase hall. So just a couple points here of kind of who's around. The first one I want to point out is the first Earl of Sandwich, and I'll just pop up there. So first Earl of Sandwich, and just to give you a little bit of history here. So he's in his full garb. This is when he supposedly was given the peerage, the Earl of Sandwich, by Charles II. So if it wasn't for him, England or the UK or Britain may not have a monarchy today, because Charles I was executed. Then there was the Cromwell period. So we didn't have a monarchy. And then it was what's called the Restoration. So the Restoration is when Charles II was rescued from exile in Holland by the first Earl of Sandwich, Edward Montagu. He went on his ship all the way over to Holland. Secret mission brought him back to England. I think it was Dover, but I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think it was Dover. And when he arrived, he was given made a peerage, so given the title, made an Earl. But there was took a while to decide if it was going to be Earl of Sandwich or Earl of Portsmouth. And if you're wondering where Sandwich comes from, there were two at that time period. So again, this is in the mid 1600s, mid to late 1600s. There was two very, very important naval ports. Sandwich, which is in Kent. So Kent is a different county in England, and then Portsmouth. And he wanted Portsmouth, believe it or not. So we could all actually be eating Portsmouths, but that was taken. And then the King Charles II said, well, that's okay. I'll give it to you anyway, and I'll strip this guy, and he'll have to, whoever the Earl of Portsmouth was during that period, and I'll give it to you. And Edward said, no, I'll choose something else. So he chose Sandwich, which at that time was a great naval port as well. Right now, it's not a naval port anymore. It's just a lovely village on the sea. But so there he is in his full garb, kitted out. And that is how the sandwich, well, not the sandwich that we eat, but that is how the sandwich title came into the Montagu family. So then if I come down here, I'm gonna fast forward to the 1700s, so over 100 years later after the first Earl, and we'll look up at John Montagu. So John Montagu, fourth Earl of Sandwich, right there. And he was an important member of Parliament, so he's an important politician. And if you watch the Doddington episode, I remember I was talking about with Serena about how portraits were made and how you would put different props in if you like. So I made this joke like, oh, I'll have yoga props in my portrait, but it's true. So if you look at this portrait here, you know, he's at a desk, he's holding on to probably some important letter, he's in his political outfit there, looking very, very important. And so those were the props that obviously he used for his portrait. So the fourth Earl, great naval officer as well, and he is the one who the sandwich was named after. Now, the myth, it is a myth, goes that he was gambling and didn't want to get his cards dirty, so he asked his butler to put his roast beef in between two pieces of bread so his cards wouldn't get greasy. That's the myth. But we're pretty sure, and I think we would know, that he was working so much in Parliament, because he was a very, very high-profile politician. He was working at his desk so much that he would just eat at his desk, which, as we now know in this modern-day world, isn't a good thing. I'm sure a lot of us, have done that before. So he asked, again, to have two pieces of bread put on either side of his roast beef, and then they called it a sandwich. That is apparently the real true story. You're hearing it first here, just below him, and I think he's nodding, shaking his head, saying yes, yes, yes. Now, next to him is his very, very famous mistress, Martha Ray. So again, if we look at this portrait and you watch the Doddington episode, she has her props. And what she has here is she was a fantastic, fantastic opera singer, and was very involved in Handel and a lot of, and loved Handel and his works. So she's holding some of a piece of which we actually think we have that book, Handel's book right there. She's holding musical notes from one of Handel's books. So that's, and then obviously on the other side would probably be a musical book as well. So that is Handel notes, music that she's holding there because she was a great opera singer. Now, the tragedy between Martha and John Sandwich is they had 5 children. They had 5 children, all illegitimate. So neither of their 5 children became obviously the Earl of Sandwich. If we just look to the left, Stephen is one of their famous children called Basil, Basil, but it's not pronounced Basil. It's actually pronounced, his name is actually pronounced Basil. And he ended up becoming a very, very important lawyer, really, really important lawyer. But at the time he had a child and he couldn't, he didn't have any money from his true father, the Earl of Sandwich, because he was illegitimate, so they didn't get anything. And he was quite poor while he was trying to put himself through school and through work. And he had a small child, and he took the small child to his very good friend, William Wordsworth, who looked after his small child so he could complete all of his education and become a lawyer. So William Wordsworth actually looked after Basil Montague's brought up his daughter for a period of time. So then we're just going to move over here to this letter. So again, this is a copy because we wouldn't keep this out, but we do have this. This is a copy of a letter from the 4th Earl of Sandwich to his friend, Captain Robert Walsingham, after the murder of Martha Ray. Now you're thinking, what? She got murdered? She did. She had a stalker because she was famous. She was a famous opera singer, and she was walking out of, in Covent Garden, walking out of one of the stage doors, and her stalker came up to her and shot her dead. So he writes to his friends, it's very tragic, "My dear Walsingham, for God's sake, come to me immediately. In this moment, I have much want of the comfort of a real friend. Poor Martha Ray was inhumanely murdered last night as she was stepping into her coach at the playhouse door. I am ever yours," and then he signs it Sandwich, and then he just put Thursday morning, 7 o'clock, the murderer is taken and sent to prison. So it was quite, and they were actually, they spent very, very much of their life together, very, very much of their life together. And I think that was popular. I hate to say the word popular, but in that period, a lot of people had mistresses. And then I think the only last one I'm going to point out here, which is my favorite, and then I'm going to show you the Tudor door, is right up above there, that wonderful, gorgeous portrait of a woman. That is Alberta with that beautiful auburn hair. And Alberta, like me, is American, and like me, is from Chicago, a Chicagoland area. And can you believe it, like me, had 4 children. So we have a lot in common, and she became the 9th Countess of Sandwich. She came over during the Gilded Age, so between 1880 and 1910. You can even go back to 1870 and 1910. A lot of new money from America. They were shunned. Families who had new money from America, they were shunned by the elite old school societies in New York. And the way to sort of get them back in was, in a sense, you would sort of trade your cash for a title so that they would be recognized in the social system in America, that they came over here and they helped fund, really, and save a lot of these aristocratic families with their money. And in return, they got a title. And over 445 American heiresses came over during that period to marry into European aristocracy. And of the 445, over 100 married into the British aristocracy, and 60, including Alberta, married firstborn sons, meaning they got the title. So, do you remember I said that there is the original Tudor door here? And it is here. So here we go. And this used to be a very, very favorite hiding place of my children. So look at this; it's fantastic. We've had these old Christmas ornaments in here. They're so vintagey now that we just think, oh, we'll just keep them in here because they're like part of they're kind of part of it. Look at, here's an old Christmas ornament. We just feel that they're part of when you open it up. It wouldn't be the same without these Christmas ornaments. So here's the old Tudor door. So you can see how it extends out, and then to make this Georgian-ish, they put that facade on the outside. Not Georgian-ish, to make it Georgian, they put that facade. So that is the original Tudor door hidden behind this panel with the 6th Earl of Sandwich. And we'll do another episode at some point on this drawing room. This is our drawing room. This is where we have Christmas. But I wanted to really get into just some of my favorite paintings here. They're scattered all over the house. We'll do another tour, another episode in the hall where you'll see a little bit more, in particular, Catherine Braganza, who was the wife of King Charles II. But that one, she's special. And there's a big episode I'll be doing on Alberta as well, because Alberta saved everything. Every single letter that she sent to her siblings, to her mom, to her dad, she saved everything. So then I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek. Oh, I know. Let's show this. It's nice to show you all throughout this house. There's little cupboards. So when you start to see these episodes, there's little cupboards here and there. And this one is usually, and it is, where we've got our kindling, because there's a fireplace in the library. We've got the firewood over to the left. But during the winter months, this is filled to the brim with firewood. Isn't that fantastic, though? I mean, it is, it's absolutely wonderful. This hasn't changed. This is where they would have it, apart from we've put that heater in, although I don't know if that works. So there's that, and then I'm going to show you another one. Let me just get that. Here we go. Okay. Okay, see, there's a lot of fixing that needs to happen. Let's go up. Okay. Mm-hmm. On the list. That's going to go on the list. Okay, so this is another little room that I want to redo. I don't even know if I know what's in here. It's locked. Okay, next time. I don't even know if there's a key. Don't you want to find out? I do.
Curious, man.
I'm curious.
I've never been.
Okay. I don't know where. I don't know. Okay, we're going to find a key, everybody, and we'll do that at some point. But I know it's in here. So this is, again, because the tourists come through this part of the house, and they're, okay, this is like a storage room. This is on the list. It's moving up to make this into a better bathroom. So when tourists come, that they have a better bathroom. There is a loo in here. There is a loo. There is a sink. But for now, it's storage. So there's a lot of storage in here. There's a lot of, okay, I learned this recently, cache pot. This is a cat. Did you know that, Stephen? No. Cache pot. And this is what you put potted plants in, cache pot. So I didn't know that until recently. This is a cache pot as well. But listen, there's so many rooms like this. Oh, there's some vinyls there. There's so many rooms like this that need to get cleared out and then of course, restored. And this would be a really nice visitor bathroom. We could make it really nice visitor bathroom. Unless, what else do you think we could do with this? I think a visitor bathroom it'd be a really nice visitor bathroom. I think that's our plan. But again, it's on the list. There's so many things on the list. And if you even look at the floor here, so if we look at the floor, I'm just going to take you back over here, like things like this, all of this stuff, eventually you can see it needs to be repaired. So we need to put almost like a filler in here. So it's just a lot. Every time I look now, when I first arrived to Mapperton, I would look and be like, oh, everything's just amazing and old and has history. Now when I go around, I think we got to fix that. And there's woodworm in that. And this we need to repair. And that needs to be renovated. And the list goes on and on. Anyway, I just wanted to give you, again, a great episode, especially now that we're not having tourists here. You guys are tourists. So literally, since the pandemic, you're some of the first tourists to come in and see this room. So thank you guys so much for joining me. We'll be doing, again, lots more episodes with different rooms in the house and, of course, around West Dorset and around the estate itself. Thank you all so much for your patronage. I mean, thank you. And a huge shout out also to those of you in the top tier, the Earl and Countess tier, to Cheryl, to Sherry, to Taylor, and to Angeline. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time around.